just said that on TV, Valdez.
It was perfect. Guys, we're back here at the SSL Premier. It's going to be herO versus Deer, as it appears that herO will introduce this for us. Definitely a big PvP. herO is the underdog coming into this one. Deer looking like a god, especially last week. But as you can see, the head-to-head doesn't really tell the story of where these guys are in terms of their form and their score here in this season.
Yeah, maybe herO had Deer's number in Pro League or the CJ Samsung matchup in 2016, but otherwise, in this tournament, Deer has performed better in all other matchups, and for Deer to get in first place, he has to win this match, and then either Stats or Classic has to lose theirs, so still feasible. If he wins this, very high chance Innovation could defeat Classic to get them into that first place spot, so we'll see if that ends up happening here, but he needs the win first. Ends up losing the Facebook poll here.
Oh boy.
And look, Deer, we talk about him a lot as underperforming when it matters most oftentimes, and this is one of those moments where he could not guarantee, but at least push him towards getting first place and guaranteeing himself his first domestic finals in several years. So
yeah, these guys talking about stuff in the chat, which I cannot repeat, but it's kind of interesting. Sorry to be that guy. But anyway, herO sitting at 2-6. Not really the performance he was looking for this time. He got first place in SSL Challenge Season 1, and I was like, okay, this guy is going to wreck FaZe. He was beating everyone, man. He was defeating Classic, he was defeating Deer, he was defeating Bjorn, and then he comes into Premier, and he goes 2-6. So not quite the performance that I had expected, at least.
Yeah, most people expected higher things from him, but we do have to remember that with the really cool relegation system that SSL has, when you come from Challenge and you dominate there, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to dominate against the best of the best. And I myself as well, after seeing what he accomplished against other players, those two you mentioned who also made it into Premier, one of them right here, Deer, I expected higher things from him as well, but he disappointed, he did not deliver. Deer, on the other hand, has had one of his best Korean StarCraft seasons of all time. He's made 2 round of 4s in the GSL since his victory in 2013. He is a one-hit wonder, many said, for so long, inconsistent in Pro League, having weak results overall in the SSL. He's had a few shining moments, but this one shines brightest of all in this tournament. A win here could give him the opportunity to go directly to the Grand Finals. This match is so important for him. For herO, it's more about pride and his final standings. Avoiding relegations is his goal, and if he wins this one, he certainly will do that. But Deer, this is such an important moment for him, and it's been so long since we had Deer in a Grand Finals. It could be decided tonight.
Definitely cheering for this guy. I remember that I was... I used to predict him and he would always lose. It was that inconsistency, you know, but he has ever since been practicing a ton more and is definitely the guy in some of the best form we've ever seen him here. He's finally returned to that top level, so we'll see if he can take this best of 3 against herO, jumping into game number 1 on Abyssal Reef. Fly, better fly, Jin Air. We are here in the second series, up in the top left, rather. This is herO.
Gaming player does not seem to be in good spirits today. His opponent could get to the first place spot tonight. Victory here would be the first step. It is Deer. Just to put all the asterisks on the table, though, we started the evening with the overall storyline of how herO was not going to make playoffs. Deer is not guaranteed. For these two players, the only player that was guaranteed was Stats. Now, he's not guaranteed first place or anything like that, but he's in playoffs. Deer could actually not make playoffs. There's a lot of ifs, though, and I just want to get them out there for once to make sure I told you guys.
Put him on the table.
So if he loses, he'll be at 6-3. Then if either Stats and Classic and either Stats and Classic lose and Innovation wins, so basically I think the information I have here is kind of not really condensed, because if Innovation wins, then so if Classic loses and Innovation wins and Dark wins 2-0, then that is how he will get through, or sorry, he will not get through if he loses. But he has to lose this in order for that to even happen in the first place. So to make sure that he has a playoff spot guaranteed, that's in his control, then he has to win this match. I said that in a bit of a convoluted way because the sheet said that.
I'm kind of confused because I think it just matters if like Dark takes a 2-0 and Deer loses, then Deer is automatically out, and Innovation would also have to win with any score.
Yes, I'm not entirely sure what the stats and BL series has to do with that, but
it also depends on whether or not Deer takes a 1-2 loss or a 0-2 loss. Basically, it's very complicated based on the indicator points. Yeah. But regardless of what happens, we'll let you guys know as the day progresses exactly what the situation is, what the possibilities are. It sounds complicated now, but as we get more results, it will become simpler.
I tried to Caldor it, guys, but I failed. But it is very unlikely. But remember, the key factor here is winning the series. And that is going to be the primary goal, as that will guarantee him a playoff spot. So now we have the Adepts versus the Stalker opening here. So not the mirrored matchup in terms of that. And it will be Adepts first for Deer, Stalkers first for herO. In fact, is making a Sentry right now. So a lot of extra safety. The Sentry is going to be multifaceted, useful. One of the most useful things it can be for is it's very safe against a Dark Templar opening because it can buy you a little bit of extra time on top of the ramp if that occurs. He's making an additional Sentry. Actually, Deer is making 2. They're both making so many sentries early on here.
Seems like they both want to go for fast expands on this map, and the Adepts are really going to work out because they were able to get to a position where they could shade. This is a lot of damage early on already. 4 probes going down. Make that 5 for just 2 Adepts. Definitely a successful economic harass here by Deer.
Yeah, it's always going to be worth that trade against, you know, losing those 2 Adepts is way worth it when you get that many probe kills. If he gets maybe 2 or 3, it's like a little bit more questionable. hero's going to hide a pylon over here. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be used for anything anytime soon, as he does have a Robo and a Nexus coming up back at home. Scout denied on the Nexus, but seeing those sentries there is a pretty big tell. He wants to force this, but this is so risky. He could force field it in.
That was close. If Deer was there right on the ramp, I think he could have gotten one of those Stalkers. These Adepts should scout this. Yeah, he does see this and actually will catch them warping in. So nice catch here by Deer, actually covering all of his bases, going towards the left first with the Adepts and then towards the right this time.
Well, these Stalkers also need to be careful. Oh boy, here's the first force field. Looks like they will just barely escape. Those are not Dragoons. They will walk well
they
and
have
get
brains.
out. Yeah. Intelligent pathing. Usually when you see a pylon like this used, it's used for when someone moves out to threaten the backstab, as we call it, where, say, Deer moved out with a bunch of units, then he does the slow warp in and gets a few kills that way, but very early used here, and Deer just went and checked for it, so some units bled off there at the end of the day.
The probes are on the run here. You can see Deer trying to get in with that shade. The probe's coming back. I think he actually sniped a sentry, if I'm not mistaken. He sniped something there. Trying to get on top of the other units. Looks like will just be the one sentry and two probes going down.
Blink is on the way here for Deer versus Glaives. Of the opposite of what you would have expected given these two players' histories. And herO's known for his Blink Stalker play. Cancel on the Glaives for herO. herO is most famous for saying, actually, when Legacy of the Void first came out, that he thought Blink was the strongest way, and he changed his mindset. Adepts were the strongest way. Not going to make the Glaives for now, though. We'll actually start Immortal production. Ooh, this is unfortunate.
Doesn't even need the Blink to find this one. I'm not sure if he can actually kill it, as with 12 health left over, this Warp Prism does find a safe space down here in the bottom of the map.
He is aware of it now, at least, though, so he will avoid making any big move-outs until it is guaranteed dead, or at least will make sure his Mothership Core is at home, because that's always a threat, just like the pylon on the right side of the map. So, big story here is herO is building up the Immortal count, and he has started Immortals first, but doesn't have a third Nexus, and we're at the point where Deer is going to start getting money from that Nexus. In fact, it's completed, so basically a whole Nexus of warp-in time ahead is adding the additional gateways right now. Deer is in such a great position. He's going to have this mobile army composition with the Stalkers as well very soon to be able to pressure. So herO can't really attack him anytime soon, and I guess this is going to be a game where if herO wants to pull ahead, he's going to have to play passively and sit back and kind of turtle a little bit.
In our most recent day of GSL, we had a bunch of what I would like to call boring PvPs, where nothing happened in the early game, and they went to super late game. Somebody was greedier, and somebody had the right composition, and then they won the game. It wasn't really like, okay, somebody went for a crazy play. I know there were a couple of them in the mix, but basically it was just straight up PvPs, getting to the late game, no timing attacks, and it was kind of boring, honestly, for me to watch, because it was about who took the bigger risk early on in the game. And so far, Deer has been taking those risks.
He made a lot of gateways, so with this Warp Prism coming across the map, he wants to actually stop this third base. He had the faster third himself, forces an early overcharge, forced a barrier too. And with Blink, I mean, obviously he can get on top of these Immortals. It's going to be a tough call, though, with the overcharges available. But the cool thing is he doesn't need to win the game right now. He's getting a Forge back and he's behind in that upgrade, but he just wants to get a positive trade here. And if there's a mistake on the side of herO, he just does win the game.
Yeah, you notice that he's not overcommitting. He's going to get one of his Immortals force fielded, though. Nice play by herO. And because of this wall, those units are not going to get in there, but moving forward now is Deer, sniping down both of these pylons and getting to work on some of those probes. Will blink away with a total of 6 probes taken out.
The army of Deer in these longer skirmishes has the better sustainability because of the Blink Micro, but unfortunately, I don't think he has enough anymore with that Immortal getting picked. The Adepts wasted, as you say, by that wall. Very well done by herO. He wanted to flank and force 2 fights at once to get some probe kills. I think herO's brought himself back into this game, absolutely.
Well, he's sticking around. You know, he is a little bit behind, definitely in the worker count. His army is very strong. Like, if herO could force a fight right now, he would win, especially because it's mainly Blink Stalkers against 4 Immortals and a lot of supporting Adepts that can tank in the front. So I think that's the goal for herO right now. He needs to get over there and attack the third base while dropping, and if he can do this successfully, he is going to pull ahead in this game.
That Warp Prism's still alive. It's the character from previously in this game. You forgot about it, but it's actually still here. The side character is going to come into the main base while the attack hits at the third. So already more successful flanking here, more successful multi-prong harass from herO. It's going to start working on these gateways, but the Adepts of the main base are getting probe kills. I don't know if Deer realizes this.
The gigantic blink forward is going to take out one of those Immortals, but the rest of them staying alive for so long. This is the fight that herO was looking for. Zealots. All of those Zealots were in the back doing absolutely nothing the entire time, stuck behind those force fields.
Such a cost-efficient exchange here for for herO, who even has rallied Immortals coming over now to finish this fight. The Nexus, I don't think is going to survive much longer here, but even if it does, it won't matter with all the damage here in the main. Even Zealot Warp-ins here, everything's unpowered. Look at the money of Deer. He can't spend it while the gateways are unpowered, and I think this is going to be a swift end to what was such a great start for Deer.
GG, herO taking game number 1. And he identified it. You know, we have all the information on our Observer PC. Your army's bigger, you've got more Immortals. If you attack right now with that Warp Prism that you saved, you can win the game. He did exactly that. It was perfectly executed. Deer was totally taken aback, was not prepared for that, thought he could hold off with just Blink Stalkers, basically, and that charge that was trying to come through, but it was not enough.
It's funny how sometimes in StarCraft games, just that one more shot that could have killed the Warp Prism could have changed the entire outcome of that game, but it survived in the red with like 10 health, came back in the main
12.
Base. 12, all right. I said like, okay.
Yeah, you were close, you were close.
But the Prism comes in, and that rips him apart. I think he felt like he had to take the fight there because the Prism was in the main, and then he was like, how could you have more units to defeat me at the third and be killing everything in the main? It's because of unit composition, as you said, with the Immortals. That blink forward terrified me. When I saw that, I said to myself, you know, I was thinking, I think this is over. You said it more politely. You were like, a really big blink forward.
Whoa, we weren't expecting that.
Yeah, he definitely didn't have enough to fight there anymore. The fight that he took at the third diminished his army enough. herO, by default, just had the better Immortal count. He went into Immortals faster and cut out the Glaives. He was planning on running a more Adept-based army composition, perhaps for harassment purposes, the Warp Prism got shut down. He canceled it, and he went into the heavy immortal account. Deer with Blink just did not have the army comp to fight that when the Prism came into the main base.
This is a big deal. Deer, the big favorite coming into this PvP, losing game number 1 and is on the ropes against herO. Let's jump into Ascension to Ire for game number 2. Watch you doing off the broken bombs at the discount zone. Go jumping into Ascension to Ire for game number 2. Up in the top left, this is herO, who was able to squeeze out a game number 1 victory.
His opponent to the bottom right in blue had a great start to the game, but fell flat. It is Deer. It's very frustrated. This is such an important moment, as we keep highlighting, but I don't think it can be overstated, as a win here would be his best chance to go directly to the finals. The win would obviously guarantee his place in postseason. If he loses, it's no longer up to him, which is a terrifying notion. For the rest of the evening, he will sit perhaps backstage, watching the monitor, hoping for the results that lead him to the best possible seed.
He especially does not want to go down 0-2, because that extra indicator point would make it even harder for him to actually make it into playoffs. It would suck to get this close and then get 0-2'd by herO in PvP and then not be able to make it into playoffs, but that's just StarCraft. I mean, you were talking about it before with that 12 health Warp Prism that survived somehow, some way.
I mean, the brutality of this game has been shown to us so many times throughout this tournament. Twice already today, the failed Alive Scout versus Maru's Proxy Barracks, the surviving Warp Prism that ends up being the nail in the coffin for Deer there. It's just so many things that can happen in an instant in this game. One blink forward, one misstep, force fields on Stalkers. It can all end in a moment, especially in StarCraft 2 versus Brood War. I mean, it's a very unforgiving game when you make a mistake of that magnitude. So Deer has always been a player that's, despite having results that shock his fans, almost feels like the Bomber Law in play, not very much affected by losses in a best-of series, will stay composed most of the time. There have been exceptions, no doubt, but looking at his play so far, looks to be very much focused here. It's actually herO who seems to be a little bit more stressed out in terms of player cams, what we're watching.
I guess he really wants to make it up to the... Actually, I think he doesn't have a choice of making it into 7th place. I think he's either stuck in 8th or goes down to below Bjall if Bjall wins and he loses. So he's just fighting for his chances at making it into the fast lane.
Yeah.
Just needs to win this series.
Don't forget, too, that there's obviously prize money on the line for whether you win the series 2-0 or 1-2, etc. So a lot more money for him if he takes the 2-0 score, which is oh so important in this scene where very few players have teams, solid salaries. That money matters a lot. Dark Shrine on the side of Deer here, a very bold choice considering he's down 0-1 in the series. Even without a Nexus, denying the Scout is so important right now. We'll make the Nexus. herO obviously slightly ahead in that regard. And we'll have a Sentry soon to scout this out. He's making it in the main base. So in a lot of ways, funny as it is right now in this meta with how well people are scouting, the Dark Shrine in the main base is like harder to scout than the proxy Dark Shrine. Yeah. Everyone's checking for those.
It's very interesting that he goes for this kind of play, because herO chose a very safe build in game number 1, and he goes for the same build in game number 2. Perhaps, Deer obviously doesn't have enough time to check the replay. Perhaps he doesn't know exactly what the build was from herO, but it was just like this. You make one Sentry, you get that Nexus out, you go straight into a Robotics. It makes you very, very safe against DTs in general. There's that pylon out on the map that Deer does have with the Dark Shrine about to finish, but the Robo is about to finish at the same time. This could just be perfect timing defense for herO.
Let's see if herO makes makes an Observer first or an Immortal first. Okay, Observer first, safe choice. It's slow warp, remember, because there's no gateway at this location. DT is still coming fairly quickly, as you can see on the production tab. They will head over here. Feels like forever when you're trying to make this rush work.
I think it's going to be perfect timing, or it's going to get there like just before.
Will he see? Will he force field?
Not going to force field. He doesn't know.
Okay,
and now that they're split up and there's only one observer, this is a big deal.
Okay, hasn't lost very many probes, only 3 so far. Make that 4, but it's disrupting mining here. This has actually paid for itself nearly, with only the 2 DTs committed to.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, he has that Dark Shrine early to make some Archons that he can mix in. If he just walked in and that Observer was like 5 seconds ahead, then no damage is done, and that doesn't pay for itself at all. So we were talking about how StarCraft is a game of inches and milliseconds. Well, there you have it once again here in game number 2.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that Dark Shrine has other uses as well, because late game too, we've seen games won by Observer management failing and DTs just winning a larger engagement, a larger battle, or somehow they sneak into a main base when someone's lost their last Observer, forgotten where their Observer is, has to F2 and realizes they don't have any Observers. So large amount of gateways here. herO, perhaps this was his original plan for the previous set with the Glaives and a big timing attack, but he wants to end this series very quickly. Look at the timing of this. The gateways all lining up with the Glaives, the Prism as well. Right now, Deer doesn't have much idea about this. He has full energy, though.
He does have full energy on that Mothership core, but he needs to get some gateways out. He needs to get some more units, because we will have this giant amount of units coming out here from herO in the middle of the map. Here come 5 Adepts, 3 more gateways getting ready to finish up. He will be going up to 8 gateways in total.
At least Deer is not taking a third, although, as I said, he moves out with his army. If he's out in the middle of the map, I don't know if he can hold this. He needs the overcharges so desperately. If he's going to see this with the hallucination, no, he starts the Nexus. This could just be disastrous, and it's actually going to be an elevator into the main base. He sees it now. He needs to come home right now. Perfect elevator here with a long-range pickup of the Legacy of the Void Warp Prism. Only 1 pylon here. Needs that next Immortal so badly. DTs are being warped in. Is there an Observer with this? I don't think so, actually.
I don't see one. I don't see the Observer. He needs that Observer. It looks like he was scared about the counterattack.
One's coming across the map. I see it on the mini-map, but
DT's here to defend. That's a lot of Adepts, though. Can focus him down. Deer, though, in the meanwhile, in the main base, will win this fight, but 12 probes have gone down.
Okay, he needs to save these probes as best as he can. I think sending them to the main base might be the best option here. Another overcharge goes off. Probes, so many of them going down, almost all of them, 22. Now he does have the 3rd Nexus, and he won the engagement defensively here. He will have a slight army lead after these Adepts fall. So he's got that going for him. This game is not over by any means, despite the large probe kills. He's going to have triple Chrono Boost to make probes, and he needs to do so basically immediately here.
I think Deer needs to move out as well. Make an Archon, or perhaps even try to split up with the Warp Prism. herO's army with your DTs. You can see this snipe on the Warp Prism is going to be huge, which should stop the aggression out of Deer, or at least make it a lot less effective, because he can't warp in with this army.
So well done. The Prism is faster than a Stalker, so that's very important to use that micro. I want to check Observer counts right now as this attack comes over. herO does have 3 Observers, 1 still in the main base.
Oh, that pylon is still alive.
Okay, 4 DTs, they do burst damage. They have slow attack speed, but they may be able to just burst this down. It's just about 2/3 of the way done.
No block there at the natural, or rather the main ramp, so the Adepts already getting a lot of damage done here. Some defending units, the DTs will be there. 3 Archons in the meanwhile are morphing.
Feels like Deer feels so desperate to make this attack work. I don't think he necessarily needs to, though. He has 3 Nexi. He's lost a lot of probes, but he's killed the Nexus of his opponent. He wants to end this game with an all-in, though. Problem being, he doesn't have a Warp Prism. I think that's one heading across the map right now. Good force fields, though.
Huge force fields. Needs to focus down that Immortal in the front. Is going to be able to do that eventually. Notice that all 3 Archons are still alive.
Okay, I thought he was going to get that Observer there. That could be so huge, too, if he actually eliminates section.
Gets that second Immortal, and Deer is making this push work somehow, some way. The Archons are all extremely low.
Yeah, herO needs to be more conservative with his units right now, trying to snipe that Archon. He's going to lose his Mothership core. Now I don't know if he has enough units here. I think the Observer did eventually go down here, too. DTs are being warped in. Here, just using that 3rd base a little bit, but that's not the key here. The army size is where he's going to try to win this game.
Yeah, he's going for it. It's going to already take out that Mothership core, takes down the 3 pylons in the front, will not supply block herO. Here, coming forward with his Stalkers, trying to blink Micro and get some units before the fight even happens.
So Warp Prism in the main base here, he's losing a lot of mining. If herO could buy enough time here, perhaps he could survive this. Seems unlikely though. Does get another Mothership core, but it's out of energy. DTs alone will be very useful here on the defense. But Deer, way overstepping the boundaries here, attacking into this concave. herO has so many gateways right now, he has to respect this. Oh, the Prism goes down, that could be it.
It's going to kill all of these units for sure. And now Deer has to run back home with his tail between his legs. Nothing here is going to survive. And this is looking like a 2-0. Now it's swinging back the other way. Deer, or rather herO, can easily come across the map. He has his own Warp Prism. And Deer really doesn't have much. He's got 19 army supply. He's going to be relying on some DTs for the defense, but
Valdez.
Still 3 observers left. He's even making a 4th one.
I don't think a series could be more Deer than this series. Such an important match, the most important match for him of this tournament.
Why, Deer?
Has
Why?
leads in several moments of this game, and yet makes the aggressive decision to attack instead of trying to poke while taking the 3rd base. Micro here better for herO. He has a larger army. No way this works. He has detection, and this is going to be the beginning of the end here. 3rd base is mining, but he just can't survive, and that's the key here. Another Mortal will pop out soon, but this is just too efficient with the Blink Micro from herO. He's going to type out GG.
herO takes a 2-0 victory. Bittersweet victory for herO, but can't go home with a bunch of money. He definitely makes this a lot harder for Deer to make it into playoffs now, who Deer himself definitely does not look very happy after that series. He got bopped, man.
And now he's going to be hoping for his former teammate Solar to defeat Dark to better his chances of maintaining his playoff spot. What a messy series that ended up to be. So, I mean, it's rough to be a Deer fan. He is so close, so close. He's not out of it yet, but now it's not in his control anymore. A series he should have won by all rights, a series that he was massively favored going into in terms of herO's recent PvP results, and he just can't make it happen. A sloppy game 2 there, and it's potentially all over for him. He's going to have to sit back and watch now as the other playoff players contest.
Yeah, as herO goes over to an interview as well. So Deer, just insult to injury, it's like, yeah, that guy 2-0'd me, he's getting an interview, and I'm not even sure if I'm in playoffs anymore. I think I predicted Deer to win the series 2-0 as well. It might have been a 2-1, I'm not exactly sure, but I think he was supposed to win that one, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think he definitely was.
I'm like mid-cast face-palming because I can't even, like, I can't believe that this is happening again in 2017, Deer.
You guys,
really?
You guys at home know he's obviously a champion in 2013 and a WCS, high contender for many years. But Valdez and I have commentated this guy for 3 years together, always disappointing us every time. He's not out of it yet, but today's match certainly was that disappointment. We're going to hear from herO, who again had not much to gain from this, but prize money. So we're here with the interview with herO, who's ruined Deer's hopes and dreams. So it's a quote-unquote meaningful win for you at the end of the day tonight. You took the 2-0. How do you feel? I wish I did better in the middle of the regular season, he says. But I guess at the very end, I showed everyone how good I am. But on the other hand, I guess I'm happy that I was able to take the win tonight. So given our head-to-head, Deer was also very worried and cautious about it. They were chatting about it before the game, as you were alluding to earlier, Valdez. Tense chat between these two before heading in. So in game 1, you lost a lot to the early adepts coming in, talking about those probe kills. So what was your plan to return to form, or sorry, to come back in that game? So he says, oddly enough, it feels like he was playing against himself in the game. Eventually he decided all he needed to do is defend, so canceled his adept research there and just decided to defend. And he said, because I had nothing to lose today, he felt like the series was going to play into his favor because he was playing with nothing to lose, whereas for Deer, there are playoff implications.
관문을 빠르게 올리면서 올인을 간 것까지는 좋았는데 오히려 암흑기사를 또 막히면서 백동준
So,
선수가 역올인을 왔거든요.
You tried another all-in yourself in set 2 in response to the DTs, referring to his adept timing. So after Deer counterattacked you, what was going through your mind? How did you respond?
네.
Honestly, I didn't know if I was going to be able to defend. I wasn't even sure. I was really nervous. Ever since I saw the DTs, I was really nervous.
선수가 경기를 펼칠 수 있었던 건 끝까지 좀 응원해주신 팬들이 있기 때문이 아닐까 싶은데요. 이번 시즌 끝까지 김준호 선수에게 아낌없는 응원 보내준.
So you have a lot of fan support as well. Going back to winning the Facebook fan vote as well. What do you have to say to the fans who came to support you? He said everyone keeps saying this result is so meaningful, but he said for me I'm not so sure if that's as meaningful as they say. But talking about last year and coming into this year, I didn't have that much confidence in terms of practice. So I felt like I was obviously very often going into high-risk plays and didn't have the consistency I was looking for, so I feel sorry for the fans for all the risks he took throughout 2017. And even though I've had bad results in practice, I'm going to try to, I guess what he's trying to say is he wants to play a little bit more standard. He was doing a little bit of cheesy or aggressive play because he felt like he was having bad results in practice, couldn't play straight up. But he wants to tell the fans that he will be trying to play cleaner games going forward, even if his results in practice weren't that good. But guys, our next matchup is going to be Stats versus Bill. Could be our most one-sided matchup of the night. We're going to come back to it after a short commercial break.